Hi everyone, I'm Chef Susie with Escoffier Online. Welcome to our live session this morning. Today I'm going to be making something pretty easy, but I kind of wanted to show you this technique of kind of putting cake batter and cheesecake batter together. So what I did is I chose the red velvet cheesecake because we have an upcoming holiday, the red, white, and blue holiday, the 4th of July. But keep in mind, you can do this with a variety of cakes. You can also do this with brownie, and we'll talk about that as we kind of go along. But today I chose red, white, and blue. We're going to be topping our red velvet cheesecake off with some blueberries and some blueberry whipped cream. So knowing that, let's get started. Okay, so for the base, I've got some red velvet cake that I made earlier, and we did this for one of our assignments. If you haven't done it yet, super easy to make. It's just, you know, some butter and sugar, some flour, and the red velvet, you're going to use a lot of red coloring in it, and if you don't like coloring, you can use beet powder, but typically I'm using just these little McCormick colors. These work fine for red velvet. You'll find you're putting a lot in here, and if you don't want red, of course you can use any other cake batter. So that's kind of the base of the red velvet cake, and it's really about the color. There's a little bit of chocolate in there. You'll taste a little bit of chocolate too, and that gives it a little bit of a richer color to it. So we've got a red velvet cake mixture. So we're going to make some cheesecake real quick. Super simple. I've got some granulated sugar and I've got some cream cheese. This is much easier to mix if this is at room temperature, and you're going to want to have your eggs at room temperature too. So we're just going to be mixing this together, and you can flavor this with any extract that you like. Orange, I'm going to use almond today. I like almond, and you can also use vanilla or lemon. Coconut works nice too. Pretty limitless on the extracts. So I'm going to put about a teaspoon in here, and just really depends on how much you like. Extracts, you know, you can use these. It's a kind of a variation. You can use a little bit or you can use a little bit more if you like, but be careful not too much. Okay, so we're going to let this whip. Then we're going to be adding a little bit of cornstarch, some whole eggs, and I have some cream and some half and half here. Okay. So when it comes to cheesecake, super important to scrape down your bowl, and that's going to help you eliminate some of those lumps. You may get some tiny lumps along the way, but you definitely don't want any of those big cheese type of chunks. So you're going to want to take your time. This is a process. So we're going to go ahead and add our cornstarch. This time you can also mix your cornstarch in with your sugar. That's okay too. Okay, so you're really going to want to cream this. Eggs go in next, and then we're going to be adding our half and half and our heavy cream. And please let me know if you have any questions. Okay, so when it comes to making cheesecake, you're going to want to be careful to add your liquid ingredients. Oh, see, the eggs are kind of hard because they kind of stick together. So you're going to want to be careful to add these liquid ingredients a little bit at a time, scraping down your bowl in between. And that's going to help eliminate the lumps. Okay, like I said, this is just a very basic cheesecake mixture. You can even use your favorite cheesecake mixture. I recommend using something like this that's not too thin. It's going to work out a lot better. And please let me know if you have any questions. I'm not hearing anything from anyone today. Okay, I'm just going to scrape this down real good. You can feel the softness. If this is cold, it's not going to be as soft, and especially if your eggs are cool too. So just let it mix. Okay, it's looking nice and smooth. Okay, let's go ahead and add the remainder of the eggs, and then we'll scrape down again, and we'll add our cream. Okay, take this down, scrape it down. And like I said, it's really key when you're making cheesecake to get this scraped down in the beginning all the way through the mixing process. This way you're not going to get any chunks and lumps. Okay, and like I said, if you have a favorite cheesecake mix or a favorite cake mix or a favorite brownie mix, you can use them to do this as well. Okay, so it's looking good. We're going to go ahead and add our cream. And like I said, you don't want this mixture to be too thin. So a little bit of a thicker cheesecake, and this way you can marble it a little bit easier, and it's not going to give you too much moisture. Okay, just about done. Okay, we're going to scrape this down one more time, and then we'll be ready to go. Some of the KitchenAid stand mixers, they have the paddle attachment that actually scrapes the bottom of the bowl, which is nice. It's a nice feature. It's great to have. Okay, cheesecake mixture is done. Looks perfect. We're going to take this off, and then we are going to talk a little bit about assembling something like this. Okay. Like I said, we're using red velvet cake and cheesecake today, and the varieties on this are limitless. So what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be swirling these together. What you can do too is you can use a brownie, and you can even use a red velvet brownie if you want something a little bit thicker, thicker in consistency, denser. You'll want to make that one a little bit thinner. But what you can do if you want to do just a cheesecake top with a brownie base or a cake base, you can make the cake or brownie, put it in the pan, freeze it really good, and then pour the cheesecake batter over that, and that'll give you the two lines. Or you can do the swirling effect like we're going to do today. So let's go ahead and do our swirling effect with our cake and our cheesecake. So I'm just going to be spraying my pan, some nonstick spray. All right. I spray it over the sink so it doesn't make a mess. And whenever I bake a cake, I'm always putting a parchment liner in. This is a sure thing that it's going to come out. And even if you're using a non-stick pan, one never knows. So I always put a little bit of parchment in there. So what we're going to do is we're just going to alternate the cake batter and the cheesecake, and we're going to have a nice swirling effect. And please let me know if you have any questions. I'm going to be putting a couple of layers in, and I'm going to be filling this cake pan about 2/3 of the way. Okay, so I've got some cake batter in there. Let's go ahead and put some cheesecake, and I'm just doing dollops. The cheesecake mix? Not really. The question was, can you over whip the cheesecake mix? You don't want to mix it too much, but it's pretty resistant. So it's a little hard to over whip. But your cake, remember, your cakes and your brownies, you don't want to mix these too much because you could have tunneling then. Okay, so we've got some layers of cake. We're going to get that over here. And then we've got some layers of cheesecake going in here, and then we're just going to be swirling this together. Like I said, you're going to fill this about 2/3 of the way. And now is the important part. And this is a mistake that I make often. I kind of get a little carried away with my marbling. You just want to do a little bit. You can do it with a spatula or a spoon, and you're really just swirling. Maybe we'll use a spoon. Okay, so don't get carried away because you're going to end up mixing these two together. So you're just going to do some marbling, something like this. And if you feel like you got it a little mixed together a little bit too much, you can go ahead and add a little bit more batter or a little bit more cheesecake on here. So I'm going to put another dollop of cheesecake over on this side because I want my top to have a nice representation. Okay, so this is it. That's our red velvet cheesecake, and like I said, you can use a brownie, you can use any type of cake mix, and you can use more cheesecake or you can use less, whichever you like. So this is going to bake at, I baked this at 325, and it's going to bake for about maybe 25 minutes. You can insert a toothpick, and if this toothpick comes out clean in regards to the cake and it feels firm, then it's done. And it's not going to get a lot of color to it because you're going to be baking it at a lower temperature. So let's go ahead and finish off the cake that I made earlier.
Can you use the springform pan?
The question was?
Can you use the springform pan?
Yep. Question is, can you use a springform pan? Absolutely. That'll work out well. I usually don't use them. I think that maybe I just, I'm used to working in commercial kitchens and those bottoms get lost. So I usually use a traditional cake pan. So this is a little tacky on top. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a little plastic on here, and then we're going to invert this to get it out of the pan. And this is a little bit lower. You can make this higher if you want. And pulling off our parchment, we see that our cake is nicely baked. And like I said, it's a sure thing getting it out of the pan with the parchment on it. Okay, so then invert it back and then just carefully peel this off. So if you do this right on the board, you might get some sticking. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and finish our cheesecake. Okay, so what I did earlier was, we have another question. Okay, the question is, what's the purpose of the cornstarch? It's a thickening agent. It's going to help the cheesecake thicken, and the eggs will do the same. You'll find recipes that don't have cornstarch in them. Typically, that's what I like to use in my cheesecake. But like I said, you can use your favorite cheesecake mix for this as well, as long as it's not too runny, because you want the thickness with the swirling. If it's too runny, it may all sink to the bottom. So use a cheesecake mix that's similar in consistency to your cake or your brownie mix. Okay, so let's go ahead and finish this off. So what I did is I made some blueberry whipped cream, and since we have a lot of coloring in the cake, I decided to color and flavor this naturally. So I have some sugar that I made by just taking granulated sugar, and I put it in a blender. I put some dried blueberries in a blender, powdered them up, and then I mixed them together. So it's super easy to do. You can do this with any kind of dried fruit. Okay, then we have another question. Okay, no more questions. Okay, so we're just going to finish this off with some of this blueberry whipped cream. It's got a nice purple color to it. And please let me know if you have any questions. It's nice for the holiday, the upcoming holiday. And it's kind of got a nice blue-purple effect to it. And like I said, super easy to make. I'll put some blackberries in the center. And we'll put a few blueberries around, and then we're going to call it finished. And please let me know if you have any questions, because we're getting ready to say our goodbyes. We're just putting a little bit of fruit on here. What size tip are you using? The question is, what size tip am I using? I'm using an Echo Star tip, and it's a larger tip. And I believe it's a number 5. But keep in mind, brand to brand, these tips are going to vary. So let's go ahead and we'll take a look at it. You can kind of see. So it's just a larger plain star tip. And you can pretty much use any size. Let's go ahead and put a little strawberry on here too. And thanks so much for joining me for the red velvet cheesecake. Nice little dessert for the 4th of July. And I definitely recommend doing the blueberry whipped cream. You won't be disappointed. Okay, so we've got a little bit of fruit on there. It's nicely finished. And you can go ahead and put this on a plate. And we'll go ahead and put a little bit of fruit around our plate as well. So it's refreshing in the warmer weather. Okay, so we're going to say our goodbyes here in a couple minutes. I can include a recipe for the whipped cream. I just take heavy cream and I just sweeten it. I like mine a little bit sweeter. You might not like yours as sweet. I just sweeten it with the blueberry sugar, but I'll include a recipe for you. So thanks so much for joining me today, and we'll see you next time, and have a great holiday. Goodbye.